There are two essential traits of the revolutionary movement that its opponents often fail to perceive, let alone effectively counter. The first is its refusal to set a defined goal or a deadline to achieve it. This allows the revolutionary movement to absorb all kinds of incongruent forces and tendencies, united only by a shared hatred for a vague and undefined enemy, giving the revolutionary leadership ample room for all sorts of opportunistic arrangements and accommodations. If you were to ask, for instance, how the promotion of homosexuality could contribute to the state's takeover of the economy, or how the Islamization of the masses might aid in spreading homosexuality, the answer would be clear: it doesn't. Yet, these three tendencies are allies in the struggle and together contribute to the strengthening of revolutionary power. They are joined by feminism, abortion advocacy, indigenous rights, environmentalism, racial movements, animal rights activism, drug legalization, etc. The list is endless. Anything with a corrosive force serves their purpose. Against what do these forces unite? Nominally, sometimes they stand against something called the system, but that's merely a unifying symbol and not an actual entity, since the revolutionary movement itself is deeply supported by organizations that represent the system in the clearest and most unmistakable way, such as billionaire foundations, the mainstream media, the entertainment industry, international organizations, and so on. Far from crystallizing into a singular ideology, the revolutionary movement is characterized by its capacity to integrate and utilize the most diverse and heterogeneous ideological discourses. Ideologically, its only unifying principle is an insatiable and ferocious hatred of anything that is not itself or that opposes its unlimited expansion of power. The cohesive force that holds together this heterogeneous mass of disparate hatreds and resentments lies in the realm of strategy, not ideology. This strategic unity is reflected in the fact that, through the most diverse and seemingly incompatible means, the revolutionary movement always emerges stronger, no matter what. The second trait I'm referring to is that the revolutionary movement doesn't seek to merely change the situation here or there, but aims to direct the entire course of world history. Since its remotest origins, the Hussite and Taborite rebellions in the 15th century, this movement has carried within itself a comprehensive interpretation of universal history and the ambition, or compulsive need, to mold it, down to its most minute details, to the life of all future humanity. Only one other historical force has embraced a similar goal: Islam. To think that Christendom had a similar objective is an optical illusion. Christianity has always fought for global expansion, but it brought peoples and nations a message of salvation that addressed individual souls without attaching a comprehensive blueprint for a new society, instead adapting itself to the most diverse social, cultural, and political realities it encountered. Islam, on the other hand, is by essence a social project, a complete civil code that regulates all human relations, social, economic, familial, political, etc. And strictly speaking, it only tolerates other forms of society as long as it doesn't feel strong enough to Islamize them from top to bottom and banish from the public sphere, and even from private life, anything that isn't explicitly determined by the Quran. It's no wonder then that after ignoring each other for so long, Islam and the revolutionary movement finally came together. The moment class and race struggles in the early 20th century, represented respectively by communism and Nazism, took the form of an explicit cultural and national war for global dominance. It is certain that this alliance cannot last forever. A deadly struggle between Muslims and revolutionaries will be inevitable as soon as they feel free from their common enemies. But there is no fixed timeline for this to occur. What matters is that these two traits, the plasticity of undefined goals and the universality of ambitions, provide the revolutionary movement with a flexibility of means that confounds its opponents and allows it to turn defeats into victories as if by magic. The most notorious examples include the political success achieved by North Vietnam after the near-total destruction of its military forces, the worldwide resurgence of leftism when the fall of the USSR seemed to spell its imminent extinction, and, on a smaller, more local scale, the ongoing process that's turning the FARC, once a militarily moribund guerrilla group, into a triumphant political force, legally recognized. Faced with this many-headed monster of innumerable tentacles, the resistances that present themselves are partial and episodic at best, often rooted in a parochially narrow view of the factors at play, sometimes inspired by religious values, sometimes by patriotic sentiments here or there, or by the economic interests of particular groups and factions. In truth, these forces of resistance survive not by their own merits, but solely due to the essentially negative character of the revolutionary movement, a movement that grows by self-destruction and cannot build anything stable. In essence, it's a perpetual state of demolition, constantly rearranging its alliances and objectives, thriving on chaos and disarray. Trying to counter it with traditional logic or expecting it to respect the rules of formal debate is a futile exercise, as it's not bound by consistency or coherence. Its power lies in this perpetual mutability, where every apparent contradiction only serves to expand its influence and sow confusion among its opponents. The only constant is its drive to dismantle whatever stands in its way, even if it means devouring its own creations in the process.